But first, the UK government forced to order a new national inquiry into the country's grooming gang scandal after a report from Baroness Louise Casey found that authorities had shied away from the ethnicity of those involved in the gangs. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has accepted the recommendations for the collection of ethnicity data to be made compulsory in all cases of child abuse.
And on the key issues of ethnicity that I'd asked her to examine, she has found continued failure to gather proper, robust national data, despite concerns being raised going back very many years. In the local data that the audit examined from 3 police forces, they identify clear evidence of overrepresentation among suspects of Asian and Pakistani heritage men.
Look at those Labor women there looking at their shoes, having been MPs while all of this went on. Joining me now, Courage Media Contributor Connor Tomlinson. Connor, thank you for joining me tonight. We've followed this really closely in Australia, and according to the Casey report, and I thought this is extraordinary, ethnicity data was not recorded for 2/3 of grooming gang perpetrators. Now, she also said, Baroness also said that there was time we needed to end, she said, the sanitised language around these so-called grooming gangs. I want to call them rape gangs because that's exactly what they were. And it's not just race, it's also their religion that was protected. But the poor old vulnerable girls, they were preyed upon. They were not protected.
Yeah, for a number of these crimes, Peter, Shadow Education Minister Neil O'Brien has been writing on his Substack for some time that particularly child sexual offences, there looks to be a deliberate omission of the ethnicity of the perpetrator, and it looks deliberate because the sex of the perpetrator, usually being male, is recorded in almost every case. So the police, presumably through trying to manage community cohesion or ensure some sort of racial harmony with an entire community of child rapists, has decided not to record this. And it is very suspicious as well that of the 35% that had their ethnicity recorded, 87% were white British. Now, for the remaining 65%, we can build up a picture from the ethnicity of suspects recorded by police in other districts. For example, in Operation Stovewood, which is the National Crime Agency's operation tackling the Pakistani rape gangs in Rotherham, Pakistanis make up 4% of the local population in Rotherham, let's say 2% for men aged 15 to 60, but they make up 64% of all of the child sexual abuse suspects. I mean, that's just an exponential overrepresentation. The same in West Yorkshire, where Asian suspects, and they don't mean obviously Japanese businessmen here, are overrepresented by 2 to 4 times their share of the local population. And I found some data via a Freedom of Information request from West Yorkshire Police that was passed along to me and another journalist friend of mine earlier this year, and this corroborates that. We found that among Pakistani suspects, they were 21% of all suspects, and Asian offenders a potential 42.73%. And we say potential because a fifth of all of the suspects, again, didn't have their ethnicity recorded. And Louise Casey's been adamant about this ever since she first wrote a report into Rotherham in 2015, that the express reason that social workers, police officers, local councillors and politicians didn't talk about this were because, and here's a quote, you couldn't bring up race issues in meetings or you would be branded a racist.
Let's talk about the inquiry that they've been forced to adopt now, this national inquiry. It is time limited, and reports are that it will not be likely to be as comprehensive as victims hope. Now, Keir Starmer, of course, during the time that this was playing out, was also a prosecutor at the time, so there is concern that he's got real questions to answer as well.
Yes, well, he has faced criticism from Maggie Oliver, who was a police officer in charge of Operation Augusta in Greater Manchester, who took some time off work, came back and found that her operation had been mysteriously closed down. She's been a valiant crusader for the grooming gangs ever since. She's criticised the Crown Prosecution Service under Keir Starmer for just neglecting to take a lot of these cases forward. And still, too many are not taken forward. And historically, this has been the case. The recent data from West Yorkshire found only a 17% prosecution rate for all of the offences that they recorded, which is staggeringly too low. But Keir Starmer, even when he's been in government, has been dragged kicking and screaming to this national inquiry. It was only in January when he said that those calling for a national inquiry were, quote, jumping on a bandwagon by the far right. His leader of the House of Commons, Lucy Powell, when she was asked, I think it was last month now, about the grooming gangs by a journalist on the BBC, she said, oh, we're going to blow that little trumpet, are we? Let's get the dog whistle out, dismissing any conversation about the ethnicity and the religion of the perpetrators, which was their primary motivation to prey on white, working-class, non-Muslim girls, as itself racist. And then you have Jess Phillips, who's the Home Office safeguarding minister, who blocked Oldham Council from having assistance, national assistance, because they felt they couldn't carry out an independent inquiry. And she has made the entire affair all about her, because Elon Musk tweeted about her complicity in the cover-up, and is now doing the media rounds on LBC and the BBC in the UK, saying, well, I was always on the side of the victims and I always wanted this inquiry, hoping that we have an apocalyptically short memory. Honestly, Peter, I don't have much faith in the Labour government being able to carry this out properly and impartially, which is why I'm really glad that Rupert Lowe, independent MP now, is still going forward with his private inquiry, because at least that can get all of the evidence out in the public and hold the government to account.
We'll stay across it, Connor. We're watching it here in Australia, and it has been a damning indictment on identity politics thus far. We'll see what comes out of this inquiry. Thank you for your time.